6 mind-blowing facts about Tecumseh that will leave you speechless. Get ready to dive even deeper into the extraordinary life of Tecumseh, the Shawnee war chief whose courage, charisma, and unyielding resistance to white expansion set him apart as one of the most iconic and revolutionary figures in Native American history. You think you've heard it all? Prepare for even more shocking truths that will leave you rethinking everything you know about this legendary warrior. 1. Tecumseh's family was torn apart by savage frontier wars. His rage sparked an unstoppable fire. Tecumseh's journey into becoming one of history's greatest war chiefs didn't just start with the love of his people. It was born from unimaginable tragedy and personal loss. By the age of 6, he had already witnessed violence that would shape him forever. His father, Puckashinwau, was brutally slain during Lord Dunmore's war. That was only the beginning. As the frontier wars raged on, Tecumseh would lose both of his brothers, Chicksika and Sawasiko, in similarly violent circumstances, each one fueling his growing rage against the white settlers. Tecumseh wasn't just a man fighting for land, he was driven by the ghosts of his family. His very bloodline had been shattered by frontier violence, and that searing pain became the catalyst for the unrelenting resistance that followed. He was fighting for survival, for revenge, and for the very soul of his people. Number 2. Tecumseh was behind one of the most brutal massacres in U.S. history. The U.S. Army never saw it coming. The fall of 1790 saw Tecumseh's name written in blood across American history. This wasn't just another skirmish. This was a massacre that sent shockwaves across the young United States. As U.S. troops marched toward modern-day Fort Wayne, Indiana, they found themselves ambushed by Tecumseh's warriors in a ferocious battle that left 183 American soldiers dead in mere hours. But that was just the beginning. When President Washington sent even more troops the following year, they met an even more devastating fate. The massacre at St. Clair's Defeat, where over 600 American soldiers were slaughtered, marked the single worst defeat ever inflicted by Native Americans on U.S. forces. Tecumseh wasn't just a warrior. He was a military mastermind who brought the U.S. Army to its knees, and his reputation became the stuff of nightmares for U.S. commanders. Number 3. Tecumseh's vision was more radical than you ever imagined, a native empire to crush white expansion. Imagine this. Tecumseh wasn't content with simply resisting white settlers. He had a vision that was nothing short of revolutionary. He dreamed of uniting all the Native American tribes, from the Great Lakes to the Deep South, into a single, unstoppable confederacy. This was no small feat. The tribes had been at odds with each other for generations, but Tecumseh believed that only through unity could they stand a chance against the ever-expanding tide of white settlers. And he wasn't just talking. Tecumseh traveled tirelessly across vast distances, preaching his message of resistance and gathering followers from tribe after tribe. He envisioned a native empire that would bring the U.S. expansion to a grinding halt. And he didn't mince words. Tecumseh believed that any tribal leader who sold land to settlers was committing treason and deserved to have their thumb cut off. His dream was radical, ambitious, and terrifying to the U.S. government, but it nearly succeeded. 4. While Tecumseh was rallying southern tribes, his confederacy was reduced to ashes in a single attack. In a cruel twist of fate, while Tecumseh was traveling in the south, rallying tribes from Alabama to Mississippi to join his confederacy, his home base was wiped out. In 1811, as Tecumseh spread his message of native unity, William Henry Harrison, the governor of the Indiana Territory, led a surprise attack on Profitstown, Tecumseh's political and spiritual headquarters. His brother, Tenskwatawa, the prophet, assured their warriors that white bullets couldn't harm them, leading them into a premature battle. The result was catastrophic. The native forces were forced into retreat, and Profitstown was set ablaze. Tecumseh returned to find his confederacy in ruins, his brother's reputation destroyed, and everything he had built on the brink of collapse. It was a devastating blow, but Tecumseh refused to back down. Number 5. Tecumseh's alliance with the British in the War of 1812 made him the most feared native leader in U.S. history. When the War of 1812 broke out, Tecumseh saw his chance to strike back at the U.S. He and his followers aligned with the British, making him one of the most feared and respected figures in the war. Tecumseh's fearsome reputation preceded him. He was no longer just a Shawnee war chief. He had become a living legend. During the siege of Fort Detroit, Tecumseh's alliance with British General Isaac Brock led to one of the most astonishing psychological victories of the war. General William Hull, trembling at the thought of facing Tecumseh's warriors, surrendered Fort Detroit without a single shot being fired. Tecumseh had achieved something no other native leader had. He had terrified U.S. commanders into submission with nothing but his reputation. But as the war dragged on, Tecumseh's dream of a united native confederacy began to slip away, despite his unyielding efforts. Reb 6. Myths and legends surround Tecumseh's death. The U.S. manipulated his legacy for political gain. Tecumseh's death in 1813 during the Battle of the Thames remains shrouded in mystery. No one knows exactly who killed him, but that didn't stop numerous people from claiming credit. Richard M. Johnson, who would later become Vice President of the United States, built his political career on the claim that he personally killed Tecumseh in battle. But the myths didn't stop there. William Henry Harrison, Tecumseh's old enemy, used the slogan "Tippecanoe and Tyler too" to secure his own presidency in 1840. Tecumseh's death became a tool for U.S. politicians to further their careers, even as his true legacy was obscured by wild stories and tall tales. Some claimed he had fallen in love with a white woman and read Shakespeare to her, while others suggested he had ties to South Carolina's governor. These stories, though almost certainly false, helped to cement Tecumseh's place as a legendary figure, one whose legacy continues to inspire awe and wonder centuries later. Tecumseh was more than just a war chief. He was a visionary, a revolutionary, and a man whose life was defined by both unimaginable loss and incredible resilience. His story is one of triumph and tragedy, a tale of resistance that refuses to be forgotten. Though he met a tragic end, Tecumseh's spirit lives on, immortalized as one of the most powerful and enduring figures in Native American history.